Mykelti Brown and her husband Toning were live on her Patreon, responding to the second episode of this season. And while she was reacting live, she was hit with a barrage of material from chatters about her mother, including details about lawsuits and accusations against their church, the Apostolic United Brethren. While they were watching the show, Mykelti was speculating that it was possible that her dad was selling his house with Robyn because perhaps Janelle and her dad had gotten into some sort of mediation or legal dispute, and he's selling because he has to pay her back. Mykelti was absolutely shocked, completely dumbfounded, to learn that her mother, Christine, had sued her father for child support. Hey guys, it's Amelia here. Welcome to TLC Flicks. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Tony thought that was a crazy conspiracy notion and disagreed. It was abundantly evident that Mykelti has been entirely unaware of a great deal of what has been happening in the family. Because the family is a gossip mill and he doesn't want information spreading among the members, Cody had previously stated that he is no longer sharing information with family members. Mykelti refuted Cody's account in its entirety. She felt it was a little bit disrespectful for him to say that about her sister Maddie, and that kids wanting to talk to their dad is not information fishing. She had been vehemently protective of Robyn for a long time, and while she was surprised by the lawsuit, she really agreed with her mother that her dad was overspending on Robyn. Despite the fact that Christine was unrelated to the argument that was taking place in that conversation. Christine only mentioned in the episode that Cody was helping Robyn with everything, such as splitting their bills. Mykelti went so far as to say on the same Patreon that her father wasn't just helping Robyn with the bigger, more expensive items in their home, like all the artwork and furniture, but also with everything else. Sales. Furthermore, however, clarified a few points. One was that compared to Janelle, or even her mother, Robyn had nicer and more expensive furniture in her house. And second, her mother worked for Lulero or any of these other multi-level marketing organizations for much the whole time the show was airing. And emphasized that, in contrast to Robyn, Christine and Mary had to spend years sort of carrying their own weight, earning their own money, and doing their own thing in order to afford to acquire stuff. She was careful to remind out that although Robyn was a part of Sister Y's inner circle, the family never benefited financially from that business. The money was always reinvested by them. Her mother worked for herself, but Robyn declined to work, citing her preference for privacy as the reason. Yet another strange choice. This validates their allegation that Cody pays for everything in Robyn's house in full, refuting Robyn's absurd accusations that they don't stick to a budget. Therefore, it's simple to claim that you're not budgeting when Cody is the one giving Robyn all the family's money and not the other way around. A lot of people were talking about lawsuits against Cody in the chat room, and viewers were talking about Christine suing her father. It was evident that Mykelti was unaware that her mother had sued Cody or that her father had been sued. She stated that she didn't think her mother would ever sue him or file for child support because she would have to deal with him after he had established his rights, and she wouldn't want to deal with the mess. It's pretty amazing how this cult's thinking kind of bends their concept of what the rights of women are. She went on to advise that having children witness their parents' dispute in court is not beneficial for the youngster. You know, legally speaking, Cody has to raise his kids, but they don't know that because they were raised in a system in which Mykelti's father has never claimed her. Her birth certificate does not list him. Thus, this would make no sense to her. When she eventually learns about it, she's shocked because Tony truly stated that filing for child support makes sense. However, after talking to members of this cult, it's evident that they are unwilling to take legal action due to the hassle of it all and the fact that leading such a lifestyle is against the law, which puts them in danger of other unfavorable circumstances. Accordingly, this is what each of them is doing in their family and marital structure. Since structure is intrinsically illegal in every state, it is difficult for women who are not legally married to their husbands to pursue any kind of legal action. They are not entitled to alimony, but they are able to receive child support. However, they choose not to do so for fear of the state pursuing them for failing to claim them on their birth certificate and potentially receiving welfare. Therefore, Cody exposed his wife to criminal actions against them if they misled the state about their spouse's identity, their lack of a father, and their need for welfare benefits like food stamps. This might have exposed them to the prospect of welfare fraud as a part of their family structure. And ultimately, money is the key. When Christine Brown filed for bankruptcy in 2010, she mentioned that her children lacked a father. The fact that there was just one parent mentioned indicated that she was the only one and would be filing her children's taxes on her own. This indicates that she took advantage of her status as a single person without a spouse or child support, or receiving child support payments from a spouse. She was making the declaration both for welfare and bankruptcy purposes. Additionally, she reported in her March 2010 court filing that she had gotten $3,600 in food stamps in 2009 and $1,800 in food stamps in 2010. She was claiming to be a single mother of 5 children with an extremely low income, which was the basis for these payments. In fact, she claimed in the same report that her employment income in 2007 had only totaled $12,400 and that she was not getting child support. Thus, the question of the bankruptcy fraud statute of limitations arises. There's a 5-year statute of limitations. She therefore has 5 years from the date of her filing to the date on which they may file a report and bring legal action against her, which would have been in 2015. Therefore, if she had tried to sue him and filed for child support before 2015, Cody or anyone else in the family could have easily reported her for fraud because Cody essentially dragged all of his wives into illegal activity and they all committed fraud, so their hands were not entirely clean. When the show began, Christine was receiving food stamps. When she stopped receiving food stamps is unclear. In Nevada, Robyn was receiving food assistance. If Christine was getting food assistance in Nevada, I'm not sure. It would have been dangerous for her to file a lawsuit before 2015 because she might have been prosecuted with bankruptcy fraud. It doesn't lessen the reality that she was complicit in this scam and that Cody gave the go-ahead for it. In Utah, the statute of limitations for food stamp fraud is 3 years from the date of the offense. It's complicated, though, because in Utah, it may also occur up to 2 years after the incident is reported to the authorities. Because the sum exceeds $5,000, which is truly a felony, if someone were to report her fraud today and a prosecutor were to look into it, they might be able to charge her if they choose to apply that statute of limitations. The statute of limitations in Utah is extremely peculiar. According to the rules, you have 2 options: 2 years from the date the offense was committed or 2 years from the time it was reported to the prosecutor. Therefore, even if the fraud occurred in 2010, if someone were to report her for it now, they may evaluate and investigate. It's dangerous because it's wild, which is why many women in this society choose not to file reports or seek child support since they are aware that they took part in government fraud as part of their cult membership. Therefore, Christine may not have filed a lawsuit against Cody for a variety of reasons. She won't be subject to any repercussions from a legal or federal perspective. She is not anticipated to face any consequences for food stamp fraud in Utah at this time. However, guys in this cult have a tendency to be very vengeful, so this is what Mykelti said in response to learning that her mother had filed a lawsuit. Mykelti is taken aback by her mother's choice to take this action. There are many variables at play here, including the risk, culpability, and potential fraud element, as well as her desire to move on from her father and her spouse and avoid dealing with them. Cody can't really demand to visit her because he doesn't have any rights. Many circumstances exist that have, in a sense, helped Christine avoid having to pay child support. However, Cody is legally obligated to care for his children, and relieving him of this duty while he supports Robyn's children would be unfair. In the end, it is unfair that Christine must raise her child on her own and bear the financial burden while Cody is providing for his other children. It isn't only, to be honest. Really deserves to have a father who is providing for her financially and paying his fair share. He owes her assistance under the law. Christine may be reaching a breaking point in her frustration that Cody invests all of his money in these other kids while ignoring her. In this situation, speaking up for herself and genuinely standing up for anyone else would not come as a surprise. To be honest, this is what most people do after a breakup. When someone needs to pay and they are not married and have a child, this is what most people do. Since child support is mandated by law, it is customary in these circumstances. There are laws in Arizona and Utah requiring you to care for your little children. It's not that you can't decide whether or not to, and you can't simply give away your child's legal rights to escape it. Cody was legally required to support the moms financially and pay for the children if he was willing to take the time to father them. He has to pay even if he doesn't want to see them. And since Cody has been able to move over it for years, it's clear that she kept this to herself and didn't tell anyone, which serves as evidence that Christine doesn't involve her kids in her arguments with Cody. She isn't including her kids in a conflict with her former if she isn't disclosing this information to Mykelti or her other children. By keeping this from her, she's managing it without their help and preventing Mykelti from being put in an awkward situation where she would feel pressured to take a side. Now, Mykelti says that this is totally understandable and expected of her, and she also acknowledged that her mother likely didn't tell her because she didn't want her to take the middle position and perhaps wasn't sure how her relationship with her dad was going at the time. Regardless, Mykelti and Tony were taken aback by Mykelti's decision. And now Mykelti believes that Cody's financial troubles are connected to the house's sale. And although I agree that Cody and Robyn are selling because they can afford it, I would also add that there is no indication to me that they are doing so because their deck needs to be fixed. I suppose there's a mold problem in the house and bathroom. To be honest, there are some rather serious flaws with the house that need to be corrected and won't pass an expensive inspection. Overall, the house is being sold as is. Thus, even though Christine's choice is dangerous, it will ultimately be worthwhile because she is now in a situation where she is unlikely to be charged with a crime. That doesn't, however, negate the need to inform viewers that every single one of these show participants lied when it came to not misusing welfare or utilizing government help. They all claimed not to have done that, but in reality they did. They all acknowledged that they had abused the bankruptcy and assistance systems, not absolves her of responsibility. She did it even though she wouldn't be going to jail. Women don't have a choice or a right, and church leaders push them to do this, so she felt compelled to do it according to Cody. But as an adult, she could have also stated, no, it's a very tricky situation for women in this cult because women who are victims can also commit crimes and be held criminally responsible for things. As a result, many of the women never hold the men accountable and are terrified to report any abuse or other mistreatment to the police for fear of facing additional charges. Although it looks awful, Christie's Christine should be all right now that she's sufficiently distanced from the incident and several statute of limits have passed, and Cody should be held accountable at last. If you are looking for more Sister Wives gossip, come back to TLC Flicks for all your updates. Bye, guys.